G'day, my name's Blake Bailey, Land Services Officer for Upper Hunter Strategic Weeds, and I'm here today to talk to you about one of our Hunter Region Priority weeds, blue heliotrope. In the Hunter, blue heliotrope carries a regional classification of asset protection. That means that as a landholder, you should be mitigating the risk of the plant being introduced to your land or spreading from your land, while also reducing its impacts on any of your assets of high economic, social, or environmental value. Blue heliotrope is the definition of a garden escapee. It was introduced to Australia as an ornamental in the late 19th century, but fun fact, the first report of it being a weed was actually in 1908 here in the Hunter Valley. Blue heliotrope now grows in all regions of New South Wales, but it is most widespread in central New South Wales. It's a native to South America. As a weed, blue heliotrope is a particular problem as it competes with native and improved pastures, reduces productivity, and contaminates produce. In particular, it can outcompete native plants, especially in threatened ecological communities such as boxgum grassy woodland. It contaminates honey if bees collect from its flowers, and it's quite poisonous to livestock and people. All of the above-ground parts of blue heliotrope contain compounds known as pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which are toxic to livestock. Blue heliotrope as a whole is not very palatable, and livestock will usually avoid eating it unless there's no other feed available, and that becomes a problem because blue heliotrope is incredibly drought resistant. Horses and cattle are the most likely to be poisoned. Poisoning symptoms vary between species. Horses suffer liver and secondary brain damage, and symptoms can include weight loss, depression, respiratory difficulties, loss of coordination, and they may wander aimlessly. Cattle may suffer liver and brain damage, and they become depressed and can have unpredictable bouts of aggression. Sheep and goats are the most resistant to poisoning, but will be affected by large or prolonged intake. Sudden death can occur under stressful conditions, such as movement or cold weather. Pigs typically suffer liver, kidney, and lung damage and death. They are very susceptible, but unlikely to eat it. Poultry are very susceptible to the toxin, and alpacas and donkeys have a substantial risk of poisoning. Another problem with blue heliotrope is that it can grow in a wide range of soil types, including typically infertile soil and highly acidic soils. It is very much a weeder disturbance, so you'll find it growing in pastures, especially if they're degraded, along roadsides and other disturbed areas such as cultivated fallows or developments, along waterways and drainage lines, and in parks and gardens. Blue heliotrope seeds germinate in warm, wet conditions and can flower within 2 to 3 months from the seedling emergence. Infestations have been recorded with up to 50,000 seeds per square metre in the soil seed bank, and buried seeds have a viability of over 10 years. So, blue heliotrope can look incredibly similar to common, smooth and Indian heliotrope, alongside yellow birdweed and some low-growing verbenas. So, let me teach you how to tell them apart. So, blue heliotrope is a low-growing or creeping perennial herb, growing anywhere from 15 to 30 centimetres tall and anywhere from 30 to 200 centimetres in diameter. The leaves on blue heliotrope are a dull to dark green, and typically anywhere from 2 to 9 centimetres long and 0.4 to 2.5 centimetres wide. You're looking for an oblong leaf, so it's tapered on both ends, and the leaf itself will actually be soft and hairy with these wavy margins that you can see here. The leaves are mostly stalkless and they sometimes clasp to the stem, but you also want to look for alternate leaves. That's a diagnostic feature. Now, the flowers on blue heliotrope can be blue, purple, lilac or pink, but they all have yellow centres. They're tubular with 5 fused petals, which are anywhere from about 3.6 millimetres long and 3.6 millimetres wide. Now, you may be also able to see that the flowers are growing in 2 rows along one side of the coiled stalk. That's a diagnostic feature, and these flowers will be present in late spring and continue all the way through summer. Blue heliotrope fruit consists of 2 small seeds called nutlets or mericarps, which separate from each other at maturity. The seeds are rounded in shape and have a wrinkled surface. They're dark brown or black in colour, and they're hairless. The seeds are mainly spread by sticking to animal fur, wool and hooves in their fecal matter, by being stuck to machinery and vehicles, being moved in bales of hay and fodder, particularly in times of drought, and also moving water in times of flood. Now, the stems of blue heliotrope are also dull green and hairy and can grow up to 1 metre long. We're looking for a cylindrical cross-section, and they can be multi-branch, radiating from a central woody root. They're highly aromatic when they're damaged, and they may actually smell like passion fruit. Another diagnostic and scary feature of blue heliotrope is its slender woody taproot that can grow anywhere from 1 to 3 metres deep. It also produces many lateral roots, which can also grow up to 3 metres long, extending out from the taproot. Now, seedlings and small plants can be hand-pulled, but I'd say it's almost a necessity that the soil is moist. Larger plants can be dug out, but it's extremely time-consuming and hard-going due to the nature of those really deep roots. Any plant parts need to be disposed of really carefully, so I'd recommend having a chat to your council biosecurity officer if you do decide to go down this line. And if any of the roots break, they need to be dug out as well. They will resprout. Now, how does blue heliotrope differ from the other species I previously mentioned? Common heliotrope, Heliotropium europaeum, is upright rather than creeping like blue heliotrope, with oval or elliptic shaped leaves. The big difference though, white tubular flowers that have yellow throats. Indian heliotrope, Heliotropium indicum, is also upright like common heliotrope, but has egg-shaped, ovate, leaves. In my opinion, this species possesses flowers closest to blue heliotrope in appearance, but its purple tubular flowers, also possessing a yellow throat, will fade to dull white over time. Smooth heliotrope, Heliotropium corassivicum, is creeping like blue heliotrope, but it possesses whitish flowers with yellow or red throats. Yellow burrweed is also upright, not creeping, and has distinctive pale to yellow orange tubular flowers. And your verbena subspecies, often called purple tops, will not have coiled flowers like blue heliotrope, and their leaves are toothed or possess highly divided margins. Just something to note, young blue heliotrope plants in the rosette stage look an awful lot like Patterson's curse, but Patterson's curse will grow up to 120 centimetres tall and has larger leaves, which are up to 30 centimetres long. Its flowers are also larger, up to 3 centimetres long. Control of blue heliotrope is quite a complex game and requires a lot of follow-up after initial efforts. This means looking for and killing regrowth of new seedlings, and using a combination of control methods is usually the most successful. In my opinion, the most effective way to manage blue heliotrope long-term is through pasture management. Establishing and maintaining locally adapted perennial pastures can help outcompete blue heliotrope, and maintaining healthy soil will help those pastures to compete with the weeds. Try to maintain ground cover and avoid overgrazing, especially in summer when blue heliotrope seedlings sprout. On the note of pasture management, cultivation is a tool that is a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to blue heliotrope. Cultivation may stimulate the germination of buried seeds and spread root fragments, and we highly recommend not cultivating any seeding plants. In spring and summer, cultivation can be used to treat seedlings, and when cultivating adult plants, it's best to kill the plants with herbicide prior to cultivation to avoid spreading viable root fragments. You must follow up all cultivated sites with herbicide to treat new seedlings. In 2001, the blue heliotrope leaf beetle was released in Australia for blue heliotrope biocontrol. The beetles prefer areas with mild summers and higher rainfall, so typically have been difficult to establish in the hunter. Multiple short interval releases are needed to establish a large population of beetles, and the release sites may need watering in drier seasons so the beetles can establish. Once established, however, populations can grow quickly as each beetle lays several hundred eggs. A range of herbicides are available for use on blue heliotrope. These differ in their recommended timing, off-target risks, and methods of application. Blue heliotrope seedlings are more susceptible to herbicides than adult plants, but multiple annual herbicide applications are needed for effective control. And to make life especially tricky, blue heliotrope can go into a drought mode when it gets stressed. So you need to spray within 2 days following rain, and only spray plants when it's actively growing. You need to be mindful of the seasonal conditions, and if it's just too dry, you can't spray. And lastly, I do recommend having a chat to your council biosecurity officer before you start spraying. There are a bunch of different options out there for spraying blue heliotrope, and you need to check the herbicide labels and permits for the best time to spray. Some herbicides are most effective from late spring to autumn, at the start of flowering and before seed set. Other herbicide permits recommend treatment immediately before flowering. To prevent blue heliotrope seeds from entering your property, there are a couple of things you can do. I'd recommend avoiding bringing in contaminated fodder and monitor feed-out areas for new weeds. You can also request a vendor declaration to ensure fodder is weed-free. You can hold on to new stock before releasing them to clean paddocks, and just monitor and control weeds emerging in those holding areas. A good vehicle hygiene regime is also fantastic, so you clean your equipment including your vehicles before moving them from an infested area into an uninfested one, and do not make any hay or silage from paddocks that have blue heliotrope. Now, if you would like to learn more about identification, control, and use of registered herbicides on blue heliotrope, please don't hesitate to reach out to your local council biosecurity officer, consult New South Wales Weedwise, or reach out to us at your nearest local land services.